Hey y'all, Chelsea and Danny here.
Enjoy this episode of Today's Homeowner here on YouTube.
Just a couple days ago, this was a typical carport. By the end of the show, it'll be a great living space.
Today's Homeowner with Danny Lipford, the voice of home improvement, with projects, tips, and ideas to help you improve your home.
When many homeowners are looking for ways to add living area to their home, they look at the space that's currently occupied by their car. In this case, it's a carport, but you may have a garage. Either way, it can be very economical to enclose these areas to add the extra space that you may need. Unfortunately, when many of these projects are done, they're done very poorly, and instead of raising the value of your home, it actually drags it down. This week, we'll show you how to do it the right way on this carport. Now, the homeowners wanted a nice size, informal family room. Well, the 400 square feet we're adding here will take care of that. Now, the things that you need to remember when you're adding on and using a carport or a garage, first thing, floor levels. We'll be leveling the floor up with the existing floor level. That's very important. We'll be keeping the wall heights exactly the same, and we'll be putting in plenty of windows and doors on the back side looking out into the backyard. And one of the most important things we'll be doing is matching the exterior. We've been able to salvage all of the old bricks on the back wall. We saved all of those to use here on the new exterior. Now, when all of this is done, it'll really be an asset to the home and not a liability. And we're going to take care of all of this within this show. One main thing we'll be doing on this carport enclosure to make sure it doesn't look like an enclosure is to match our floor levels of our new area with our old area, just like we mentioned earlier. Now, our form boards are already in place, so it won't be long. We'll be able to pour our new concrete slab. But before we got to this point, we had a couple days of tough demolition. Before we started, the whole back wall of this house was covered with brick, and we began our demolition by removing these bricks one at a time because they play an important role later in this project. While the guys were in the demolition mode, they got rid of all the wood trim, the wooden ceilings, and the wood inner wall of the utility room. And once the concrete is poured and dry, this big beam running through the middle of the space has to come out to make way for the new custom ceiling we have planned for this room. We also have to finish demolition of the utility room wall before we start framing the new relocated laundry room wall. The laundry room will be larger than the old one, but this wall's location is also important because it will support a key element in the construction of this room's custom ceiling, a large laminated veneer lumber beam. And believe me, it's heavy. All right, all of the easy framing is over with. Now the tricky part on creating the recessed ceiling that we're putting in this new area. Now, the homeowners had several options as far as the ceiling itself. We could have stayed up with our vaulted ceiling and actually used our roof rafters as our ceiling joist, but it would have really been a departure from the style of ceiling that we have inside the house. So what we're doing is creating a recessed or pocket ceiling. Now what we'll do is the beam that you see here will serve as this side of the recessed. We'll put joists from the bottom of this over to create an 8-foot ceiling like we have inside the house. Then right in the middle, it'll go up 12 inches over to another beam that will run right along here, 2 more beams here for the nice square little pocket in the middle. So it'll really look nice, but a lot of work to be done there. Let me show you around here what we have. Now, the person in this family that does all the laundry are really glad this is taking place, an enlargement of the existing laundry room. You can see originally the wall ran right along here, not a lot of space for taking care of all those clothes, so enlarging this a couple feet this way and a few feet this way gives a really nice size utility laundry room. Over on this side, we'll have a little small area that we'll take up for a new heater and cooling system that will be duct out over to take care of this area because of the existing heating and cooling system just wasn't sufficient to take care of this extra space. Well, we've gotten a lot done, but there's lots of work in these beams. Each new beam requires plenty of nails to secure it. We're also using lots of nails installing the 1/2-inch plywood sheathing and the vapor barrier that goes on top of it. With the walls up and the overhead framing done, the heating and cooling contractor can begin running ductwork through the newly established attic space. That also means we can begin thinking about connecting this new living space to the rest of the home. There you go. Hey, things are moving along well as far as our framing, and we've gotten to the point where now we're headed into the hardcore remodeling. You can see Mark working on the sawzall here in order to create a larger opening. The original doorway led out into the carport. Now we're enlarging it to a 6-foot cased opening all the way over to that point. So that'll be a very nice transition going from the old into the new. Now also, just about everything else is completed. Our air conditioning contractor is finishing up the work on the new air conditioning heating system for this area. And once they complete all of their duct work up overhead, we'll be able to get an inspection from the city, and then we'll be able to move forward with the electrical, which will take place in just a few days. After that, and after we get our windows and doors in, we can start installing insulation and continue with all the interior walls. But something's taking place outside that's going to make the brick mason's job a lot easier. What we're doing here is actually toothing in the brick wall that we'll bring in later. Every other brick has been removed, and the full bricks have been here at this point. So we're taking out every other brick, which is the half brick, and Joe started by actually taking a saw with an abrasive blade, a diamond tip blade, to score the joints. And once we remove all of this, this will really make for a nice tie-in for the new bricks to tie into this, and it won't look like an addition at all. Hey, we've got a few things to do around here, but we'll have it all complete before the end of the show.
It's time for this week's simple solution from home repair expert Joe Truini.
This week we're in a typical boy's bedroom, and Joe has a solution to the problem that the boy's having with his bed.
Well, it's a problem not only with bunk beds, but with any bed that's supported by wooden slats. In fact, if you give me a hand lifting this up, I'll show you what the problem is.
Oh, okay.
These slats go from rail to rail, and they support the mattress or the box spring. But the problem is they slide around. And you can see these are been knocked out of position from the kids jumping up and down in the bed, or even just daily use of hopping in and out knocks them out of position. And if they're not evenly spaced, they won't properly support the mattress.
Couldn't you just drill through and put a screw in each one of them to hold them in place?
You could. I mean, in this case, we're going through a metal rail, and so that requires a bit of work to drill through and then to screw up from the bottom. If you don't have the exact right length screw, it can poke through. You could do that, but it's a lot of work, and I have a much simpler solution. Hold that up for me. I'll show you what it is.
Oh, rubber band.
A simple rubber band. You want to get a nice fat one like this, and all you need to do is wrap it around the end of the wooden slat and check the underside, and if it's twisted at all, you want to straighten it out because you don't want any twists in it, so you want it to lay nice and flat.
Okay.
All right, and then you put it back in there, and you put one on each end, obviously, and you'll notice how easily this slides because you have nice smooth wood on hard metal, but with just a little bit of rubber on there. And then when you put this back down, the weight of the mattress and, of course, the child sleeping on there will keep those from sliding out of position.
Another problem solved. Our carport doesn't look like a carport anymore. With our walls in place, our vapor barrier nailed off, and our wall straps are all in place as well. We're ready for our brick masons at this point. Now, since we were here last, we've completed having all of our inspections on the inside. Now, Mark, our finisher, is in the process of putting the finishing touches on our walls and ceilings so that we can proceed on with the interior finish. Outside, we will be ready for the brick masons as soon as they are here with our toothing of our bricks, both on this side as well as the other side that we looked at earlier in the show. And we have a nice brick ledge for them to get started in laying the bricks. They'll flush them out here on the end. Then bring these up, and that's where the wall ties play a very important role. They'll bend these over between the courses that they'll be laying. Their mortar will go right on top of them. We're leaving a 1-inch gap there on the back side for a little ventilation. Now, it's very important having wall straps like this evenly spaced and nailed directly into the stud to really tie the bricks in to the addition itself. Very important as far as structural and the longevity of the bricks. Now, we're toothing these in and being very careful to use a lot of the bricks that we demolished off this wall earlier in the job. We actually took all these bricks down, cleaned them, and stacked them over to the side of the job so that they can use the older bricks to start off on these toothed joints, and that'll make sure that it doesn't look like an addition having two different types of bricks. Now, another thing that we're doing to keep this from looking like an addition has to do with our nice clean cut we put on the asphalt driveway. By doing this, we're allowing a little green space here that the homeowners will landscape later with a few flowers and shrubs, and that'll really prevent this from looking like a former carport. Now, I'm sure all of you have driven up to houses before and seen driveways that tie right into an area like this. By cutting this out, it kind of takes away that obvious look that it used to be a carport. Now, I mentioned Mark was in the process of finishing our drywall. Let's see how he's doing. Well, Mark, it won't be long before this will be complete.
Oh yeah, got it taped and bedded, and tomorrow I'll be putting on my final coat on everything. And then it'll be just a question of a little bit of sanding and turning over to the trim man.
All right, looks like you're working on your corner bead.
Yeah, I'm using a hot mud today. It sets up a little faster, and that way I can turn around and I can put another coat on today.
Now the corner bead Mark's working on is actually just a little bit of a metal type of almost flashing. You can see a piece of it here that was left over. And what this usually is used as is a protection for outside corners like this, because as you can see, once you have the drywall compound on it, it provides a little bit of protection in case it gets bumped. It also provides a nice clean edge, and that's what we're using it for here on the recessed ceiling. But Mark, I see a lot of times after a few months on a recessed ceiling, this corner bead will turn loose and you have a real unattractive line running down through there.
I just go through and clinch just like everybody else, but I find if you go ahead and you nail it, the top and bottom of it all the way around it, but put a nail about every 6 to 8 inches, you won't have that problem.
Now, as far as coats on this, you're putting the first coat on now, and you mentioned you were using the hot mud, which is a fast drying joint compound. What will you need, another coat or 2 more coats?
Just 1 more coat. This hot mud doesn't shrink as much as regular mud, so that's also another bonus for me, so it makes for less coats.
Okay, and then what's left after that?
After I put my final coat on everything, it's just a question of a little bit of sanding, and I get to turn it over to the trim man.
All right, perfect. Now, Mark's been doing this a long time, and he mentioned having to do a little bit of sanding. Well, in his case, that'll be a very quick process. But if you've ever tried to finish drywall yourself, you know that it can be a real tough task in getting it nice and smooth, and the sanding that you may be doing may take you longer than the actual taping and the mudding that Mark just talked about. So you may consider, if you're doing a project like this and trying to do a lot of it yourself, to go ahead and install the drywall yourself, making sure you recess the nails properly, but let the finishing be taken care of by a professional. Hey, we're going to keep moving along on this project, so don't go anywhere.
Let's join Danny at the Home Center to check out this week's best new product. Brought to you by the Home Depot.
Let's face it, painting an interior ceiling is not the easiest home improvement project out there. I mean, you're always looking up in an awkward position that can literally cause you a pain in the neck. Also, it's very hard to tell where you start and stop on a painting project. If you're painting white on white, it can be very tricky. But Glidden Paint Company is about to solve that problem with their new ceiling paint that contains an easy track technology. Now, this allows the paint to go on in a pink color and then dry to a bright white in less than 30 minutes. Now, the way that's done is a specially designed dye that's part of the paint that's already pre-mixed, so no mixing's necessary, and really helps you to tell where you started and where you stopped. Now, another thing about this type of paint, even though tracking type paints are not new to the industry, what's different about this is the drying time of 30 minutes instead of 24 hours, and when you use the paint, you can continue using it for up to 2 years, whereas comparable paints have a shelf life of only 2 weeks. So if you have a project coming up soon where you're going to have to paint a ceiling, you may consider using Glidden's new ceiling paint, and it'll save that pain in your neck and make the job go a lot easier. Well, our brick mason did a great job in tying the old in with the new. Actually, it's not new at all. These are the bricks that we salvaged off the back wall of the house, cleaned them, and they've really helped out to really tie all of the new part of this building in with the old. Now, the homeowners are ready now to start their landscaping, planting a few shrubs along here that will really disguise the fact that this used to be an old carport. Now, around back, our air conditioning contractor's in the process of putting in the compressor unit here, so we'll have a 1.5 ton system that'll take care of all of the new area and will be zoned differently from the existing house. Now, the backyard is already set up for a little entertaining here. The homeowner several years ago put in a little water feature here that's always nice to have in a backyard, and even the patio here that used to be on the back side of the carport will work perfectly now that the room is almost complete. Now, speaking of the inside, they're really moving along. our homeowners can really start getting an idea of what the finished room will look like now that we've been able to complete all of the drywall finishing and the installation of our trim, both our baseboard and our crown molding and all of our window trim. And the painters even made it out on the job and put the first coat of paint on it. And I really like the color they selected, and also like the way the painters painted this little vertical surface here that kind of defines the recessed ceiling. It defines the ceiling, but still the ceiling gives it that real spacious feel that the homeowners wanted. Now here's a good idea anytime you have a kitchen that's adjacent to a room like this to create a pass-through. Now originally this was an exterior window, kind of the traditional window that you have over the kitchen sink. Here, by framing it out and putting a slightly wider sill on the bottom, makes for a nice little serving area, and it keeps the person in the kitchen from being isolated from the rest of the family that'll be enjoying this new area. Now with our air conditioning heating contractor out on the job, he'll also be installing our grills over all of our registers and our return air grill at the same time, and he'll go ahead and start up the air conditioning heating system so that we can start controlling the temperature and humidity in the room. Now that's very important when you get to the very end of a project like this, because you want any materials that you're installing in a new area to kind of acclimate to the particular conditioned air and so forth. Major changes in climate can cause condensation on surfaces like the concrete subfloor. Not good when you're gluing down a brand new vinyl floor like the one the owners have chosen here. There we go. Hey, we're in the home stretch on this project. I'm just completing the installation of our folding ironing board. Now, these things have been around for years, but this one's pretty cool. It's all metal, tilts down like most of them do, and then it tilts like this. It really makes wise use of the space. Also, this has an electrical outlet in it, electric light, and a timer so that if you forget about it, it'll cut itself off after a while. Even a shelf for the iron and other accessories that you might need. So it's pretty neat, very easy to install. It basically fits right between the studs in the stud cavity, and you basically allow for that space. Of course, the electrician needed to be called in order to wire the outlet, and then you just set it in place, a little more assembling, and it's all complete. Now, our flooring contractor is all done. Everything looks good there. Painter's completed his work, and we're about to give you the tour right after Around the Yard.
Let's head outside for Around the Yard with lawn and garden expert Tricia Craven-Worley. Brought to you by TimberTech Composite Decking.
Oh, Danny, I just love sitting on the porch when the weather's rainy.
It is very relaxing, and maybe a good time to get the houseplants out here. Let them enjoy the rain.
Oh, no, 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 no. You can put the pothos out there. He'd be very happy, but don't you dare put this African violet out there.
Why, it doesn't like water?
No, it doesn't. Any plant that has any fur or fuzz like this beautiful African violet would be very, very upset in the rain.
Well, it looks so delicate. I don't believe I could ever keep something like that alive.
Oh, it's not as scary as you think. You know, all you have to do when plants do have fur like this is water from the ground up. And many people like to water them in a pan of water, and they soak them that way. But I have another way that we can water it, and that's with this cute little funnel.
Boy, where did you get that one?
Well, actually, I created it. I took a 1-gallon milk jug,
okay.
and I cut off the top of the handle and then the bottom where it goes into
Right,
the jug itself, and it becomes this really practical little funnel. So what I'm going to do is stick it in here so that I can push it down toward the roots, and I can just deliver the water carefully into it. Now, another thing that you can do, aside from watering it this way, because you can frequently propagate the African violets, and sometimes, as you can see, we've got more than one plant here.
Right, sure.
If I go to divide it, when I do the new division and put the new potting soil in, I can put the funnel right in there at that time.
It's hard to believe this used to be a carport. This is where the cars drove in. This was the main entrance to the home. A lot has changed over the last few weeks. The old carport was a pretty common one, about 20 by 20, open on the front and the back with a small utility room along the outer edge that housed the washer and dryer. In the last 4 weeks, we've transformed this space where the family minivan lived into a space the family can use. On the outside, the recycled brick makes it almost impossible to tell what's old and what's new. Around back, the French doors and windows fit naturally with the existing patio. The living space itself is ideal. It adds over 400 square feet to the home that the owners really needed, and the bump-up ceiling makes it seem even bigger. The laundry room is not only larger, but there will be no more trips outside to wash clothes. Speaking of outside, the homeowners have already gotten a start on their landscaping here on the driveway side. They have their landscape timbers down, the mulch, and they tell me this weekend they plan on putting in all the shrubs that'll really disguise the fact that this used to be a carport. Hey, thanks for being with us. I'm Danny Lipford. We'll see you next week.
Thanks for watching this episode of Today's Homeowner. And don't forget to like, comment, and hit the bell icon so that you'll be notified of new videos.
And be sure to click around and watch some more videos while you're here.